in other exciting news, have you come across a website called Tattle Life?
No, what is it?
It's like this forum where people post like mean comments about celebrities and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and I discovered a few days ago that there is a thread about me on this forum
Really?
in the like influencers section.
Can we bring it up?
Oh,
Or
we
do you
can.
mind?
I actually did like that day when I discovered it. I filmed a reaction video with Sheen where she was reading out some of these things and we were sort of reacting to them. So this thread was created on October the 4th, 2020. Could someone start a thread on Ali Abdaal and influencers? I can't make one and I'd be interested in seeing what others make of him. And then it's like 7 pages worth of stuff. A lot of it which is around, yeah, just
Is it only mean comments? Are you not allowed to say nice things on this site?
um, if there is a nice thing, then it's often like backhanded. Be like, oh, I don't mind his X content, which is actually not bad, but actually, the fact that he does Y is like horrendous, and
Really?
you know, I I don't mind his beard, but the way that he talks on camera is just like really ridiculous. That level of stuff.
Okay.
Um,
How did you feel when reading these? Because I mean, you're used to sort of some hate comments on YouTube and stuff, but seeing an entire community dedicated to hating on you, that's different, right? That's gotta hurt.
yeah, it's a bit different. There were a lot that were just like that were just funny. The ones where I felt a modicum of something was there were a few that were like I wouldn't trust him as a doctor because he just comes across as a snake oil salesman, and there were even a few people that were like, yeah, he was actually my doctor when I was in the hospital, and one guy
What?
was like, he came into my room and I was like, oh God, not that Bellend from Instagram. There were one or two about how I was quiet and awkward in real life and not at all like I am on camera, which is
Damn.
interesting.
So how do you feel when you said that some of them, like the ones like calling you the bell end from Instagram when you're at the hospital? Like, come on, mate. It must be not nice to read something like that. I don't know how much I buy your whole thing of like stoicism and like, oh, I'm always indifferent. I'm immune to this stuff.
Let me think. How do I actually feel about this?
You want to project that you're immune to this stuff, but I find that very hard to believe.
I mean, I've often felt that comments like, I used to like his videos because ABC, but now all he cares about is money, and it's really obvious. It's like, well, I see a comment was where someone has read the headline but hasn't watched the video, and they're like, oh my God, or they skipped ahead to see, oh my God, he's making this much money on YouTube, but haven't watched the 25 minutes of caveating that I put at the start. Oh, here's another one. Sorry for the essay. This guy just grates my fucking cheese. Try hard, but all right seeming lad turned hardcore shiller and influencer moron. I've said it before and I'll say it again. He's got caught up in the fame and money, and people are starting to realize it. But again, like that's like okay, fair enough. It's kind of funny.
So again, you're describing things as like funny. I think it seems to me like you're trying very hard to not say that it feels bad to read these things. Come on, mate.
I don't know
Just
what
admit it.
I don't know what it means by like
I
feel
don't know
bad.
what it means to feel bad. Yeah, you bloody do, mate. When you say like, oh, I felt a modicum of something when I read that.
Yeah.
People normally call that feeling bad. That's what that is, all right? You can sugarcoat it with modicums, as many modicums as you like.
I think
Why do
the
you find it so hard to just say, it's not nice to read these mean comments about me?
Oh yeah, sure. I'll get on board with that. It's not nice.
What?
But I wouldn't go so far as to say feels bad, because
The hell is wrong with you?
feels bad in my head feels like a different level of feeling
Okay,
bad.
tell me what feels bad. Like what counts as feeling bad? Like
What kind of
what's
feeling
what's
bad?
what's the lowest thing that would count as feeling bad?
Feeling bad is if I've upset someone in real life, inadvertently.
Okay, so that's like the lowest bar for feeling bad.
Um,
Anything less than that, and you wouldn't be. It's not feeling bad. All right, getting rejected by a girl, for example, does that cross into feeling bad territory, or is that just not nice? It's not nice, and you might feel a modicum of something.
No,
You
getting rejected by a
stupid
girl
prick.
doesn't fall into feeling bad territory.
Okay, all right.
It probably
So,
would have done like 8 to 10 years ago.
okay, so the best thing that falls into feeling bad territory is when you've upset your friend.
The best thing, probably. I don't have many. Yeah, I think okay. I think feeling bad. Obviously, if we take this the stoicism approach to it, there's the gut initial feeling that you can't control of like, oh, okay. Um, a lot of people who research around emotions would say that that's a feeling of unpleasantness, and then
Yeah.
the rest of the feeling bad is the narrative that you tell yourself about it. And so if I've upset a friend, then I have that feeling of unpleasantness, and the narrative I'm going to tell myself is, "Wow, I'm a dick." That's going to make me feel bad. If I
Okay.
read a comment like this, like on this forum, then the initial reaction is a feeling of unpleasantness or, oh, this is not nice. But I
Okay.
wouldn't feel bad about it because the story, the narrative that leads to the feeling bad gets cut off at the appropriate point. And I'm not sure there is a comment someone could make, or I can't imagine a comment that someone would make where I would actually quote feel bad. Unless it was something like if I was like bullying someone on camera and people called me out on it, then that I'll be like, oh, I'm a dick. Yeah, you're right. I feel bad.
Okay.
Do you,
So, right. Naval and Tim Ferriss have both admitted on a podcast that if they are called fake gurus, they might feel a bit bad about that. But what you're saying is, A, you're more enlightened than Naval,
mm,
and
it's
B,
not what I'm saying.
you're more enlightened than your own guru, Tim Ferriss, and you actually don't feel bad even when people accuse you of being a fake guru. Like this is just ridiculous.
I think it's just
I don't
semantics.
buy it.
I mean, that's fine. I think it is a large part of this is the semantics around what does the phrase "feel bad" mean.
Yeah, so why do you try so hard to avoid saying the phrase "feel bad" when you're happy to say things like "oh, it feels not nice"? Like most people would say those are the same things. Like, why do you have to go through all this gymnastics to avoid saying "feel bad"?
Because I don't think it's a case of going through gymnastics. I think or rather, insofar as we do go through mental gymnastics, that actually does change the way that we feel about stuff. And given that I'm in the business of not wanting things to affect my tranquility, obviously the thought patterns and stuff that I've reinforced over the last 8 to 10 years are around this idea of I can choose how I respond to something in a given moment. For example, if I get slightly annoyed about something, it's going to last 2 seconds, and then I'll forget about it. You might say most people would call that you're angry or that you're pissed off. Like why are you so scared of saying the phrase angry? But like I genuinely cannot remember the last time I was actually angry. Sheen might see me speaking to Mimi sometimes and be like, "Oh, you were angry there." I was like, "No, I really wasn't. Like, that's not anger. That's just banter." And equally, when it comes to feeling bad, the actual feeling in my mind, the feeling of feeling bad is so rare for me, and it's reserved for instances where I where I think the person is right and I have been a dick. That this does not come into that level of feeling bad. I'm happy to say it's feeling not nice because it's like, it's nice to drink a tasty cup of tea, and it's not nice to read mean comments about yourself on the internet. But I wouldn't go so far as to say that that makes me feel bad.
I see.
Something that would make me feel bad would be, for example, if someone was like, I was a patient of his in the hospital and he was really rude to me and he came across as an arrogant prick. I'd be like, okay, that feels bad because if that's the experience that person has had, then that is something that I should feel bad about because I don't want to give them that experience. Whereas if the
But surely
comment,
you don't want to give these online commenters the experience of thinking you're selling snake oil.
no, I don't. But I think in that context, there's so many layers of other things going on there, rather than a one-to-one interaction with a patient at work. If hypothetically they were to say that he wasn't very good, he made me feel small, etc., etc. Do you get what I mean?
Hmm.
I think part of it is the scale as well. It's like if if I had like a Zoom call with someone and they thought I came across as an arrogant prick, I probably wouldn't like that. I would probably
Okay.
feel bad about that because it's different than a sort of put out a video that's viewed by a million people, where some people who haven't watched the whole video think that I'm selling snake oil, even though that's not what I'm doing, as I said 18 times in the video, but they didn't watch the video. Like, you know, the story around the feeling bad is just so different that I wouldn't call it feeling bad. Am I bullshitting myself, or does that sound reasonable?
I don't think it sounds that reasonable. I think this this thing about like the Stoicism thing about choosing the story you tell yourself about things. That's all well and good, but I think your gut reaction to something is how you actually feel about the thing. Like if your gut reaction, if for example, my gut reaction to something was that I was absolutely devastated, and then after a few minutes, I sort of calmed down a bit and I was like, okay, this is actually all right. That still counts as me being absolutely devastated. It's stupid for me to say, no, man, I've chosen not to tell myself that story, and so I'm just gonna.
I think we're using different meanings of the phrase gut reaction. What I'm using by
Okay,
gut reaction is literally that millisecond to 1 second response when you see something, and then the rest of it is narrative. Um, and that would be this thing of pleasant versus unpleasant, or attention versus inattention, which is how a book that we're going to discuss on this podcast at some point calls it. Like those are the only four gut reactions that we have to stuff, and all of the rest of it is narrative and story and cultural associations and all this sort of stuff. So you being absolutely devastated for minutes, sure, but I'm not referring to that as gut reaction. I'm not saying that I'm feeling something for a period of time and then I'm rationalizing it away. I'm saying that when it comes to this sort of stuff, it's a feeling of like unpleasantness initially, and then very like almost immediately, it's a sense of fair play, mate, or lol, that's just quite funny.